Hello everyone, it's the CrazyToast again. Today we will be looking at the Tier 6 German premium tank, Panzer IV Schmalturm. Development on the Panzer IV began in 1934. The Panzer IV began as an infantry support tank, and had a short-barreled 75mm gun. After World War II began, the PZ-4 was upgraded to meet the demands of the German army. By the end of the war, the PZ-4 had gone through nearly 10 variants, and still the German army had to compete with more and more Allied tanks. Late in the war, in a bid to augment the Panzer IV's firepower, to compete with stronger Soviet and Allied tanks, an attempt was made to mate a Panther turret carrying the longer 75mm L-70 tank gun to a Panzer IV hull. This was unsuccessful, and confirmed that the chassis had, by this time, reached the limits of its adaptability in both weight and available volume. This model of Panzer IV did not make it to the battlefield. The PZ-4, as compared to the other Tier 6 German tanks, has a slightly thicker armor. However, the 80mm frontal armor rating should not fool you. Compared to the other German mediums, the PZ-4's armor scheme is more squared and has a lot of flat edges, making penetrating shots a common occurrence. Side armor is not much better. With non-existing slopes, the tank has 30mm of side and 20mm rear armor, weaker than the other Tier 6 German mediums. However, turret armor is much better. However, two problems. 1. The turret has flat angles, and the gun mantle takes up much of the front of the turret. Expect the gun to take damage. It gets worse. The PZ-4 is also slow compared to its counterparts. Its top speed is 48 kph. In contrast to the slowest Tier 6 German medium, the VK3002M, which top speed is 55 kph. It also has worse ground resistance, and a low power-to-weight ratio, making it slow to accelerate, and slow to react to situations quickly. One of the saving graces of the PZ-4 is its main cannon. The 7.5cm KWK-44 1L70 is much in the way the same as the one on the Panther. So essentially you get a high penetrating, average damaging, good ROF cannon on what is basically a Tier 4 or 5 tank hull. The cannon is capable of penning 150mm of armor, at 13+ rounds a minute, and doing 135 damage per shot. The PZ-4, where it lacks in mobility and armor, needs to make up for that in rate of fire, and keeping the enemy at a distance. To that end you will need the medium tank gun rammer, coated optics, or binocular telescope. The third wild card equipment is either a camo net, or enhanced gun laying drive. Like I said before, the PZ-4 lacks in mobility and a practical armor layout for Tier 6. And since this tank can, and will get put into matches sometimes up to Tier 9, you'll have to play this tank very carefully. Distance and whatever stealth you can muster will have to be your armor. If you brawl with this tank, you put yourself at a disadvantage. Keep your distance, try to hide your hull, and let your gun do the talking. It is unfortunate that the PZ-4 is a Tier 6, and does not have preferable matchmaking. This tank is suited for Tier 5 through 7. Fighting Tier 8 and 9s really stress this tank's ability to preform. Some days I feel as if the PZ-4 is just a light-skinned target, whose life is only meant for destruction. I really have mixed feelings about this tank. I would recommend not buying this premium tank, unless you've played this tank before the 7.5 rebalance.
bereit zu feuern. Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt. Wo sind sie hin? Der ging voll durch ihre Panzerung. Wir haben sie nicht mal angekratzt. Das muss wehtun.